Good morning. Thank you for being with us this morning on THV 11, streaming on your TV with THV 11 Plus. I'm Karen Fuller.
I'm Hayden Balgavy. Let's send it over to meteorologist Tracy Bean joining us with the first check of the forecast on this Tuesday morning. Folks heading back to school, heading back to work, but hey, you can go to the fair now too.
That's
it's fair season. Let's go.
I mean, you got plans after school. All right, let's talk about that bus stop forecast. Here in central Arkansas, we are looking at partly cloudy and comfortable, but just north of the metro, we do have a few rain showers. I'll show you that here in just a second. But for the rest of the day, everyone's mainly looking at sun and clouds and looking for those highs in the low to mid 80s as we're looking at our current radar. Moving again, tracking some light to moderate rain showers to the north of the metro, and then down there in southern Arkansas. We'll take a better look here. If you're traveling on Interstate 40, you may encounter some of those rain showers. Might make your commute just a little bit wetter. And then pushing over to eastern Arkansas, a bit heavy at times as it's pushing through Searcy and McCrory. Again, wind starting to see some of that activity as well, and heading to Interstate 40. South Arkansas, mainly looking around Monticello, Fordyce, Star City, and Dumas. Maybe seeing a little rain, but it's not as widespread as we are seeing in the northern portion of the state. Starting out the morning around 70, still seeing a lot of 60s across the state, but it's a little more muggy out there this morning. That humidity's up just a little bit more. But those highs today, 85 in central Arkansas. Some of those areas are going to bump up into the upper 80s, maybe even 90. Scattered showers are possible throughout the day, but most of us will stay dry. We'll talk about the day hour by hour and what you can expect later into the weekend. The weekend coming up.
Tracy, thank you. Developing this morning, rescue teams are racing to find survivors after a strong earthquake hits eastern Afghanistan.
The magnitude 6.0 quake struck Sunday night, killing at least 900 people and injuring 3,000 while most were asleep.
Officials say the death toll could rise significantly as many people are feared to be trapped beneath the rubble.
CBS reporter Tina Krause has the very latest.
In eastern Afghanistan, it's rescue by desperation. No heavy equipment, just villagers with shovels and bare hands, searching for loved ones buried in the rubble. Victims of the earthquake that struck in the middle of the night Sunday, shaking a remote region deep in the mountains, flattening villages and triggering mudslides that wiped out entire neighborhoods, leaving some buried in rubble for hours.
We're always expecting these disasters to happen, but it feels like in Afghanistan, people really don't get a chance to just breathe.
Afghanistan's Taliban government mobilized the few helicopters it has, flying over shattered villages to reach the injured and airlift them to hospitals. Hospitals so crowded, this doctor has to search for a spot to lay down 3-year-old Nasib Ullah. His twin and his brother died in the quake. Their father said he dug them out of the ruins himself. The Taliban Health Ministry appealed to the international community.
We urgently call on humanitarian organizations to step in.
The United Nations has pledged an initial $5 million in emergency aid. Some groups like the Red Crescent and other small medical teams have made it to remote areas, but the UN Migration Agency says some of the hardest hit villages are still unreachable. Tina Krause, CBS News, London.
Congress returns to Washington today with less than a month to go to avoid a government shutdown. President Trump says the funding bill may pass exclusively with Republican votes, despite calls from Democrats to make it bipartisan. Committees are also handling high-profile issues this week, including the House investigation into the Jeffrey Epstein files. And former CDC leaders are also speaking out after the firing of its director, Susan Monarez, questioning Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s oversight.
Something is wrong when politics rules science and we're not able to have the best science, true gold standard, make sure that we're doing the right thing for the people that we serve.
Senator Bernie Sanders wants Kennedy to resign, but the White House is defending him. RFK Jr. is expected to face tough questions, though, at a Senate hearing Thursday. The White House is rolling out more executive orders, this on voting. The latest push calls for voter ID nationwide, along with limits on mail-in ballots and a ban on electronic voting machines, including the ones used here in Arkansas. Instead, the president wants all elections to use hand-marked paper ballots. But for now, these orders are guidance only, since the Constitution gives states the power to run their own elections.
This Labor Day, demonstrators across the country took to the streets, speaking out against what they call unfair treatment of workers, with demonstrations in both Little Rock and Fayetteville. Bo Russell takes us to the larger crowd in Northwest Arkansas, where protesters targeted wealthy elites and the Trump administration.
Thousands of groups from across the U.S. gathered this Labor Day to protest.
Labor Day dates back to 1882 when workers gathered in New York City to remind elected officials and others that workers matter.
Lisa Childs, an organizer with Indivisible NWA and other protesters, are calling the event Workers Over Billionaires because they say they feel the majority of people in the country are struggling.
There's a lot of hard times going on in America for everyone. It's not just young adults, it's not just for kids, it's not old, elderly people, it's everyone that's suffering.
Organizers say recent legislation is a gut punch to the working class.
The bill that was passed last July was giving huge tax cuts to billionaires while breaking things like Medicaid.
One demonstrator I spoke with is a grad student at the University of Arkansas. He says recent cuts to education programs inspired him to make a run for Congress in 2026.
But seeing the cuts to science and the cuts to a lot of these Medicaid and a lot of things that people rely on, and without another alternative, I felt like it was my time to stand up and to try and make a change.
Protesters say today's event is a peaceful demonstration, something they hope will be a symbol of their intentions.
What we're doing here now is about love. We're trying to spread love and grow a more loving environment in the U.S. instead of hatred.
Among the thousands of demonstrations today, groups here in Arkansas gathered in Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Harrison, Hot Springs, Jonesboro, and Little Rock.
Bo Russell reporting this morning. Meanwhile, in Chicago, thousands filling the streets protesting President Trump's plan to send National Guard troops into the Windy City. Over the weekend, President Trump mentioned Chicago 3 times on social media, warning the Illinois governor to, quote, straighten out crime fast or we're coming. City leaders say they expect troops within days despite their objections. Chicago's mayor and Illinois governor both condemning the move, saying federal troops don't belong in U.S. cities.
No federal troops in the city of Chicago. We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago.
Any kind of troops on the streets of an American city don't belong unless there is an insurrection, unless there is truly an emergency.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says federal agents are coming to Chicago for immigration raids, but the mayor is pushing back, signing an order that keeps Chicago police from teaming up with military or ICE on those patrols.
To some health updates this morning, new FDA guidelines are sparking confusion over who should be getting the updated COVID vaccine. The shots are approved for seniors and for anyone older than 6 months with a condition that puts them at higher risk. Those patients can walk into a pharmacy for the shot. For everyone else, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says you'll need to talk to a doctor first. 16 states are still waiting for CDC approval, expected later this month.
There is no new data on safety and efficacy that would warrant a change in guidance. What's changed is the process. So instead of having a transparent, science-driven policy-making process, what we are seeing now is vaccine policy being made by political fiat and even being announced on social media rather than through normal processes.
Vaccine makers Pfizer and Moderna say their vaccines will be ready in the coming days, but it's not yet clear if all insurances will cover them or if pharmacies may require proof of a medical condition.
President Trump is pressing pharmaceutical companies to explain their COVID drug results. In a social media post, the president says there are disagreements over the life-saving effects of the drugs, adding, quote, I want the answer and I want it now. He did not clarify which drugs or data he wants released, leaving it unclear whether he means vaccines or antivirals like Paxlovid. CVS and Walgreens say they are limiting COVID vaccine access in some states following the latest FDA guidelines. 6:09 this Tuesday morning. Labor Day is behind us, signifying the unofficial end of summer and the start of fair season here in Arkansas.
Yeah, today one of the state's oldest fairs kicks off, the Saline County Fair. Carnival workers spent the holiday setting up rides and attractions for opening day. The Midway will draw visitors along with livestock competitions while local businesses showcase their services.
Coming out the Salt Bowl and the Amplify Music Festival, it is a busy time in Saline County.
It's a week of tradition, or it's a week of nostalgia for a lot of people. It kind of transports them back to a time when they came as kids. And so it makes people think about that, and it brings those happy memories.
That was the Fair Board President, Dustin Parsons, who says this is the county's third largest event of the year, meaning more money flowing into the community.
The admission is free and the fair and rodeo run through Monday night. Now let's talk weather with meteorologist Tracy Bean and the forecast to help you plan your day, your parade, your Razorback A-State game, whatever it is you have going on in the coming days.
Yeah, I was enjoying watching the carnival workers. They looked like they were having a good time setting everything up yesterday. Today we are starting out with some scattered showers north of the metro. There's a few down in southeastern Arkansas as well. Here in central Arkansas, we're just seeing those partly cloudy skies. Looking for that high today in the low to mid 80s. Again, most of those rain showers are to our north. Now we're going to see a couple of areas of rainfall as we're heading into Friday into Saturday. And how will that impact the big game? Well, stay with me. We'll talk more about that and time it all out for you coming up in a few minutes.